I would like the court to make as clear a statement as possible as to what should follow. In a normal functioning democracy, one would expect the Prime Minister to obey what the Supreme Court says, but we are not currently in a normal functioning democracy. We're in a democracy, in inverted commas, where a Prime Minister with no majority has suspended Parliament because it was getting in his way. So I would hope that the UK Supreme Court will be as clear as they possibly can be about the consequences of their decision should they find in our favour.
All of us, whatever side of the Brexit divide we are on, should be worried about a world in which a Prime Minister can suspend Parliament as an inconvenience. Those who support Boris Johnson's actions at the moment should be asking themselves the question how they would feel about a future Labour Prime Minister, perhaps Jeremy Corbyn, who did not any longer want to be subject to the constraints that Parliament might place upon his actions. How would they feel about this? This is not an issue about Brexit. This is an issue about who holds power in this country. Is it Parliament elected by the people, or is it a leader elected by a tiny number of members, self-selecting members of a particular political party?
Because it is the case that Parliament is now prorogued, there are certain things that it cannot do anymore. The most important thing is to hold the government to account, and suggested that there would be a possibility for hypothetically speaking, for a Prime Minister to prorogue Parliament in order to get rid of the army, or to prorogue Parliament when it becomes apparent that he or she is going to lose a motion of no confidence, and suggested that these examples demonstrate that the principle really has to be that prorogation has to be strictly controlled by the courts. There needs to be anxious interrogation of the reasons for a prorogation when it touches on these fundamental constitutional principles. Anyway, talking with your hands is better when I'm actually saying something, so I'll just say something, because otherwise it looks... So potentially very far-reaching. So depending on what the courts end up deciding, it could mean that the Prime Minister unlawfully prorogued Parliament and that Parliament could sit again. It could also mean that they leave it at a declaration of unlawfulness and don't take any further action, which would then have political repercussions. It's very hard to say at this stage. It looks really bad for Boris Johnson, I think, if it's found to be unlawful. This is really an unprecedented case. It really hasn't happened before that prorogation has been before the courts like this, and it would be bad for any Prime Minister, I should think.